Hello students, welcome to iAgrivia Foundation YouTube channel. Students, as you all know that Earth is a unique planet because life is existed on the Earth. So because of this planet is very special. So what made the life to exist on the Earth? So for that reasons you know, because of hydrosphere, lithosphere and atmosphere. Because of these three layers, a biosphere is present on the Earth. Students, in the previous class and in the previous lesson about lithosphere we discussed it. So that means soil. So how the soil is formed on the Earth and what are the types of Earth and what are the usage of this different kind of soils. About all these things we have discussed in the previous class. Today, let us discuss about the hydrosphere. Hydrosphere is nothing but water resources. Students, the water resources are there in the two types are there. One is salt water sources and another one is fresh water sources. These salt water sources we are not at all using properly. Why? Because that salt water is not suitable for the industries or household things. So that's what we are using that one for only for transportation purpose. Then freshwater sources are there. It is very limited for us. In India, not only in India, totally on the earth, we have some sources of water like rainfall, rivers, lakes, tanks and springs. Like this, very less sources we have for water. By using this itself, we have to engage in the different activities. You know students, water is very important for the daily activities of the human beings. For example, household things, agriculture, transportation facilities, for industries, for navigation. Like this, for various purposes we are using these limited sources. So that's what we have to use this one very judicially, very judicially. Students, today let us discuss about the water sources which is available in India. As already I told that in the different part of the world, in India also we have the very limited sources of the water. So that is rainfall, rivers, lakes, tanks and springs. In this, river sources are there, that is major. Compared to tanks and the wells, we have many rivers in India. So let us discuss about the river system of India. Students, as we have divided the India into two parts like North India and South India, so we have divided the river sources into two types. One is North Indian rivers and the South Indian rivers. So let us discuss about the North Indian rivers first. The main difference between North Indian source and the North Indian rivers and the South Indian rivers means North Indian rivers are perennial rivers and South Indian rivers are non-perennial rivers. So what do you mean by this? Perennial rivers means throughout the year it will be filled with the water. That means during the rainy season due to the rainfall and during the time of the summer season due to the snowfall, the rivers will be filled with the water. So hence it is called as perennial rivers. South Indian rivers are they are completely depending on the rainy season. Only during rainy season it will be filled with the water and during summer season almost it dries up. So hence it is called as non-perennial rivers. First let us discuss about the North Indian rivers. Students, North Indian rivers are very big rivers. Okay, so the North Indian rivers can be remembered with this code itself, that is big. North Indian rivers are big rivers, B-I-G. B means Brahmaputra river, I means Indus river or river Sindhu, G means Ganga, river Ganga. As the North Indian rivers are big rivers, hence with this code itself we can remember the North Indian rivers, Brahmaputra, Indus and Ganga. River Brahmaputra rises at Chamayungdang in Tibet Nearby Manasa Sarovar, river Brahmaputra rises. Then it reaches into China, and then through the narrow gorge of Arunachal Pradesh, it enters into India, and finally it reaches to Bangladesh. After that, by joining with the river Ganga, it enters into Bay of Bengal. Like this, river Brahmaputra, almost it flows more than 2800 kilometers. In Tibet, river Brahmaputra is also called as Sangpo. It is also called as Sangpo. When it enters into Bangladesh, there it meets with river Ganga, and there it has created the biggest delta in the world. Almost 6 lakh square kilometer of land is filled with Brahmaputra Ganga delta. So that is the biggest delta in the world. Later it reaches into the Bay of Bengal. Then if you come to river Indus, another big river in India, so that is river Indus or river Sindhu. It rises in Mount Kailash. Then that is nearby Tibet. Then it enters into India. After that Pakistan, and then finally it reaches into Arabian Sea. So before reaching to the Arabian Sea, it will meet with many tributaries. Many small rivers are there, no? It joins with the river Indus. Which are those rivers? Those rivers are river Ravi, Beas, okay, then Chenab, then Sutlej, Jhelum. So like this, these are the main tributaries of river Indus. After that, it reaches into Bangladesh, Pakistan, and then it reaches into Arabian Sea. Okay, students, though it is the biggest river compared to river Ganga and Brahmaputra, it lies only 700 plus kilometers in India. So that's what we cannot consider river Indus as the biggest river in India. Then we will go to the major river of India. So that is called as river Ganga. River Ganga plays an important role in the economic development of the country. See, for example, the river Ganga, where it flows, that land is completely fertile and many industries are there and many agriculture fields have developed well, and throughout the year farmers will be cultivating the crops. Okay, hence river Ganga plays an important role in the development of the country. Here river Ganga rises at the place of Gangotri. Gangotri is the birthplace of river Ganga. And later on, by joining with the many tributaries like Yamuna, Gandak, Gomati, river Son, and river Kosi. So these are the major tributaries of river Ganga. By joining with these rivers, river Ganga enters into Bangladesh. There it is called as Padma. In India it is called as Ganga. In Bangladesh it is called as Padma. And there it joins with the river Brahmaputra, and there, as I told before only, it creates the biggest delta in the world, and later it enters into Bay of Bengal. So this is the river Ganga's system. Okay, students, here river Indus, river Ganga, and river Brahmaputra. These three are the major rivers in the North India. Then let us come to South Indian rivers. South Indian rivers are the, we are going to divide that one into two branches. One is west flowing rivers and east flowing rivers. Okay. So why we have divided this one? What geographical features have made this system like west flowing and east flowing means? So that is because of the shape of the peninsula plateau. You know that the peninsula plateau is there, it is sloped towards the east side. It is sloped towards east side. So because of this, many rivers which rises in the western Ghats, it flows into Bay of Bengal. Towards east side, they all flows. Okay, now let us discuss that which are the east flowing rivers and the west flowing rivers. The important east flowing rivers are, first one is Mahanadi. So this is Mahanadi. It rises in the Sivaha ranges. It rises in the Sivaha ranges, and then it flows towards the east side, and then it reaches into Bay of Bengal. So this is one of the major east flowing rivers. Then second one is River Godavari. This is River Godavari, the major river for Andhra Pradesh people. It rises at the place of Trayambakam. It rises at the place of Trayambakam in Maharashtra. Then later it reaches into Andhra Pradesh, and after that Bay of Bengal. You know that Godavari, River Godavari is the longest river in the Peninsula Plateau. Here we have many rivers. River Narmada, Tapi, Mahanadi, Krishna, Kaveri. Among all these rivers, Godavari is the longest rivers in South India or in the peninsula. Okay, but river Ganga is that is the longest river in India. Longest river in India. But in South India or in the Peninsula Plateau, river Godavari is the longest river. Okay, so then river Krishna. River Krishna, it rises at the place of Mahabaleshwaram. It rises at the place of Mahabaleshwaram, and later that is in Maharashtra, and then it reaches into Karnataka. There it meets with many tributaries like river Bhima, river Tunga, Bhadra. Tunga, Bhadra, both are separate. When it meets with each other, so then it is called as river Tunga Bhadra. Then finally it joins with the river Krishna. Then it goes to Andhra Pradesh, and finally it reaches into Bay of Bengal. So river Krishna. And then river Kaveri. You know, river Kaveri is then, so that is one of the major river for Karnataka. Almost more than 800 kilometers it flows. It rises at the place of Talakaveri. At the place of Talakaveri it rises, and first it flows in Karnataka, and later it reaches into Tamil Nadu, okay, and finally it reaches into Bay of Bengal. Before reaching into the Bay of Bengal, it meets with many tributaries. The prominent tributaries of river Kaveri are Hemavati, Arkavati, Shimsha, Kapila, Lakshmana Tirtha. Like this, many tributaries joins with the river Kaveri, and finally it reaches into Bay of Bengal. Okay, so these are the very important east flowing rivers: Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Then let us come to west flowing rivers. The prominent west flowing rivers are river Narmada and Tapi. Okay, so river Narmada, which rises at the place of Amarkantak. Okay, it flows along with the narrow gorge in Amarkantak, and finally it reaches into Arabian Sea. Okay, across this river almost 23 small dams, bigger dams and medium dams have been constructed. Okay, so this is the one of the important west flowing rivers. River Tapi or Tapati, which rises at the place of Multai. Then it also flows towards the west side, and finally it reaches into Arabian Sea. The other important west flowing rivers are river Netravati, Shabaragiri, Kali, Periyar. So like this, some more small rivers are there. So this is the Indian river system. So then let us go to the irrigation. Irrigation is one of the biggest contribution as given by old people to the modern world. Because somewhere water source will be there, and somewhere agricultural land will be there. Then how to supply the water? So by the time they got an idea, it's nothing but irrigation. So what do you mean by irrigation? Irrigation is nothing but artificial supply of water to the agriculture field from the water sources. Somewhere water source will be there. Okay, through the various ways we will get that water to the agriculture field. So this is called as irrigation. In irrigation we have some types. Before going to the types of irrigation, what is the importance of irrigation? Why it is necessary for India? Compulsory it is necessary for India because India is basically agriculture country. Most of the people are depending on agriculture itself. But to make agriculture, water is very important thing. But do you think that water is sufficiently we are getting water to the agriculture field? No. Why? Because in India, Most of the people, 90% of the people are depending on southwest monsoons. They are depending over the rainy seasons. The entire Indian agriculture is depending over the monsoon season. If we get the sufficient rainfall, definitely we'll get the very good crops. Sufficient crops will cultivate, and it will be helpful to the farmers also. But in our country, what is happening? Southwest monsoons are there, no, it is uncertain, unevenly distributed throughout the country. So because of that, most of the crops need regular supply of water. So because of this, irrigation is very much required. By storing the water when is required water to the agriculture field, by the time we are supplying. Okay, so this, because of this, irrigation is compulsory required for India. Now let us discuss about the types of irrigation. We have majorly three types, that is well irrigation, canal irrigation and the tank irrigation. So well irrigation, what is this well irrigation? You know that by taking the earth, where we will get an idea that there we will get the water resources. So there, by taking the help of some laborers, we will dig the ground and we will get the water source. So thus we are storing the water, and by using the pulley we are taking out that water, and then we are supplying water to the agriculture field. But nowadays we have the machines, okay, and by using some electrical power, we are getting out the water and we are supplying water to the agriculture field. You know students, well irrigation is very much suitable for Indian farmers. Why? Because most of the Indian farmers are very poor. They cannot invest more money in if they want to make some irrigation, means sometimes money is required. But to start the well irrigation, huge money is not required. We have enough number of laborers, that is enough. Okay, so limited number of laborers means with the help of that only we can dig out the ground, we can dig out the surface of the earth. And another one is, here huge technology is not required. Okay, you know that while constructing the buildings, many different type of technologies we will use, but here it's not necessary, only manual power is enough. Okay, and moreover it does not require huge money also. Got it student? And moreover, wherever the rainfall is scanty, very less, in that area also we can go for the well irrigation. Hence it is very much suitable for the Indian farmers. And most in North India, both in North and South India, we have this type of irrigation. Then let us come to the canal irrigation. Canal irrigation means through the rivers we will get water to the agriculture field. Students, in this also we have two types. One is flood canal and another one is perennial canal. So what are the differences between these two, flood canal and perennial canal? Flood canal means directly from the rivers, where the river is flowing, from there itself we will dig the canal. Okay, so through that we will get water from the rivers. Then we will supply that water to the agriculture field. It is possible only in the rainy season. Why? Because rivers will be flowing only during the time of rainy season. By the time, very easily through these canals we can supply water to the agriculture field. But during the time of summer season we will not get enough water. Okay, and moreover during the time of the rainy season also, sometimes chances are there that canals will be filled with the water and flood also can be happened. Okay, so by this time what happened, the agricultural crops will be destroyed. And another type of canal, so that is nothing but perennial canal. What is this perennial canal? Across the river a dam will be constructed. By constructing the dam, water will be stored, and when it is required for agriculture purpose, so then they will live along with the canals. Okay, na? So when the water is required, only by the time they will supply water through the canals. This is called as perennial canals. Okay, these are the two types of canals. But here student, for the construction of the canals, it requires huge money, technology, everything is required. But also after the independence, Indian government has taken a lot of care to construct the canal irrigation. Okay, so when they made the green revolution and when they gave more importance for the agricultural field, along with that they have given importance for the construction of many canals also. Then we will go for the tank irrigation. You know, tank irrigation, naturally it can be formed. You know, students, along with the slope lands, where the slope lands are there, so there across that a mini dam will be constructed, and when the rain water comes, by the time water will be stored naturally. Okay, so this is one of the gift only, natural gift only we can call. Here, along with this stored water, what happens? Underground water is, so that level also increases. Even here also, whenever the water is required, by the time we can supply water to the agriculture field. Okay, students, such kind of tank irrigation is more and more available in the South India only. Why? Because the land is slope. So across that slope, many mini dams have been constructed. So these are the types of irrigation: well irrigation, canal irrigation, and the tank irrigation. Then let us come to the multi-purpose river valley projects. In a large way, in the biggest way, the Indian government decided to make the usage of river waters. As I told that in India, many rivers are there. By using the rivers, we can get the multiple benefits. With this intention, many river valley projects have taken to get the multiple benefits. Okay, so this is called as multi-purpose river valley projects. It is called as multi-purpose river valley projects. By taking one multiple river valley projects, many advantages we can get. So what are the advantages of these multi-purpose river valley projects? See, for example, KRS Dam you have seen. I think in your lifetime so far, you might have visited one or the another time to the KRS Dam, Krishnarajasagara or Kannambadi Dam. One dam is there, behind that water is stored. Okay, so that is not only to store the water or to generate the hydroelectricity. With that, many benefits we can get. So what are those benefits means? It supplies water to the irrigation. Irrigation means supply of water artificially to the agriculture field. Along with this, dams, many canals will be constructed, and through that, whenever water is required, they will supply water. Thus, it is supplying water to the irrigation facilities. And then controls floods. Each and every multi-purpose river valley projects are there, no? So their intention is to control the flood. You know that river continuously, if it flows, what will happen? During the time of heavy rainfall, it causes for floods. So to avoid this one, multi-purpose river valley projects have been undertaken. And then by storing the water, we are generating the hydroelectricity. So that is also one of the major intention. You know, KRS Dam has been constructed to generate the hydroelectricity itself. So later we started to use that one for other purpose also. Okay, na? You know that in entire India, almost more than 60% we are using the hydroelectricity itself. And then it prevents the soil erosion. As it stops the continuous flow of the water, along with that, it is controlling the soil erosion also. Okay, wherever the reservoirs are there, stored water is there, so there grass and trees, plants, everything grows very well. Along with that, it is going to avoid the soil erosion. And here, the main intention of this multi-purpose river valley project, I told it, so that is to control the flood. By controlling the flood, we are preventing the soil erosion also. Okay, and then next to the reservoirs, the many villages will be there. Their main occupation is fishing. Okay, they will catch the fish and they will sell that one in the market, and they are leading the life. Like this, the multi-purpose river valley project, it has given life to many people also. And then recreation. What is this recreation? It is nothing but entertainment. You know, students, wherever the dams are there, so next to that many games will be there, boating will be there, musical dance will be there. Okay, students, so like that, many more recreation facilities you can see next to the reservoirs. If you go to KRS Dam, Brundavana Garden is there, no? There you can see these recreation facilities. Not only in KRS Dam, wherever you go, so there you can find the recreation facilities. And then it supplies water to the domestic purpose and to the industries purpose. And finally, it leads to the afforestation. As we are storing the water, along with that, we are encouraging the afforestation also. So these are the advantages of multi-purpose river valley projects. Then next let us see that which are the important multi-purpose river valley projects are there in India. About that, let us discuss. Students, after discussing about the importance of multi-purpose river valley projects, then let us see which are the important multi-purpose river valley projects have been undertaken in India. Very first one is Damodar River Valley project. The speciality of this project is it is the first Indian project. Before independence itself, this project was undertaken, but later, after achieving the independence, this project was completed. In intention to construct all these dams or to undertake all these projects, already we have discussed it that to make the hydroelectricity, to generate the hydroelectricity, to avoid the floods, to avoid the soil erosion, to provide the water for irrigation facilities, to supply water for industries. So this is common for all the river valley projects. So here Damodar River Valley project has undertaken across the river Damodar. Across the river Damodar it has undertaken. The main intention is before construction of this dam or before undertaking this river valley project, the river Damodar during the rainy season, it used to cause for the heavy destruction because of flood. Hence, this river was also called as the Sorrow of Bengal. It was also called as Sorrow of Bengal. To avoid this one, this project has been undertaken. Now maximum floods have been avoided. And then next we will go for Bakranangal project. The speciality of this Bakranangal project is it is the highest dam in India. It is also called as Govinda Sagara. The another name of Bakranangal River Valley project is that is the Govinda Sagara. This river valley project has undertaken across the river Sutlej. Across the river Sutlej. And then Hirakud project. The speciality of this Hirakud project is it is the longest dam. Highest dam is Bakranangal, longest dam is Hirakud project. This project has undertaken across the river Mahanadi. Across the river Mahanadi. Even this river Mahanadi used to cause for the heavy destruction because of flood. Hence it was also called as Sorrow of Orissa. Sorrow of Orissa. To avoid this one, Hirakud project has been undertaken. Now maximum floods have been avoided by the river Mahanadi. And then we will go for Tungabhadra project. Tungabhadra project. Already I told you that Tunga is different, Bhadra is different. After meeting both the rivers, it is called as Tungabhadra. Across the river Tungabhadra, a dam has been constructed, so that is called as Tungabhadra project. It's called as Tungabhadra project. Its another name is Pampa Sagara. Its another name is Pampa Sagara. And then Upper Krishna project. Upper Krishna project, and that means before reaching to the Tungabhadra, that river is, so that is called as Upper Krishna part. So there a dam has been constructed which is called as Upper Krishna project. It is also called as Basava Sagara. It is also called as Basava Sagara. Actually, the Upper Krishna project has consisted of two dams. One is Alamatti and another one is Narayanapura. Alamatti and Narayanapura, two dams are there in the Upper Krishna project. Its another name is Basava Sagara. Then Kosi project. This is the speciality of this project is, so this is also called as the International River Valley project. Why it is called so means River Kosi rises in Nepal, later it reaches into India, especially to Bihar. Okay. In between India and Nepal, at the border, a place which is called as Hanumannagar. At the place of Hanumannagar, River Kosi project has been undertaken. And through this, whatever the electricity is generating, in that 50% we are giving to the Nepal. Okay, students, so hence it is called as International River Valley Project. And moreover, this river Kosi is then it used to distract it used to give a lot of trouble in the Bihar by distracting a lot of properties. Hence, the river was also called as Sorrow of Bihar. It was also called as Sorrow of Bihar. To avoid this flood, this dam has been undertaken. So that is Kosi River Valley Project. And then Rihand Valley Project. Rihand Valley Project, it has undertaken across the river Rihand in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, students, its another name is Govinda Vallabha Pant Sagar. Its another name is Govinda Vallabha Pant Sagar. And the last project is that is Nagarjuna Sagara project. Even this one also undertaken across the river Krishna. Okay, students. So here Nagarjuna Sagara project is so that is considered as the largest multi-purpose river valley project compared to any other river valley project. From this river valley project, a lot of benefits we are getting. Okay, students, these are the very important multi-purpose river valley projects. Again, I'll repeat. Bakranangal project is also called as Govinda Sagara. It is the highest dam. Kosi River Valley project. River Kosi was also called as Sorrow of Bihar. And this project is also called as International River Valley Projects. And then Rihand Valley project is it is also called as Govinda Vallabha Pant Sagar. Damodar project, river Damodar was also called as Sorrow of Bengal. Sorrow of Bengal. And moreover, it is the first river valley project which has undertaken in India. And then Mahanadi, across the Mahanadi, a dam has been constructed, so that is called as Hirakud project. So the speciality of this Hirakud project is this is the longest dam in India. Longest dam in India. And river Mahanadi was also called as Sorrow of Orissa. Sorrow of Orissa. And then Upper Krishna project is also called as Basavasagara. It has consisted of two dams. One is Alamatti Dam and another one is Narayanapura Dam. Then Tungabhadra project is also called as Pampa Sagara. And then Nagarjuna Sagara project, largest multi-purpose river valley project. And finally, Narmada River Valley project, Narmada Sagara or Sardar Sarovar River Valley project. As I told that, across the river Narmada, nearly 23 small dams, medium dams and biggest dams have been constructed. Among them, very important one is Narmada Sarovar or Sardar Sarovar. So this is the biggest dam which is constructed across the river Narmada. Okay, students, so these are the water resources which are available in India, and by using these water resources, our Indian government has made a lot of projects, and in that multi-purpose river valley projects are very important. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕನನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳ ನೋಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೊದಲು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಸಂದೇಹಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಳಿಸಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ತರಗತಿಗಳು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ತಲುಪುವಂತೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ.